everybody. It's Chad. We're back again with another episode of Grassy Logic Bloopers around here today. I'm here at Deb Haaland today. She's running for governor. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Of course, me too. Yeah. Sorry about the little mishap we had just now. But she took time out of her busy day to come join us to answer some questions, especially from the cannabis community. So I'm going to be asking some general questions, then I'm going to be going to her and asking some cannabis community questions that the community came up with and, weren't even for me. So without further ado, could you introduce yourself for the people that unfortunately don't know who you are?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. My name is Deb Haaland, and I am from Laguna Pueblo. I was the Congresswoman for District 1. I was the Secretary of the Interior under the Biden administration. I was the state chair of New Mexico during the 2016 elections. And I have worked really hard as an organizer for the probably last 20 years or so, getting folks registered now to vote. And I'm a single mom, raised my kid as a single mom. I went to UNM. Don't hold that against me down here. And I love New Mexico.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Hey, you were rocking the turquoise today.
Yes, absolutely.
You look great, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And thank you again for joining me. And, it's a wonderful introduction. But yeah, today we're going to have some great questions. First off, I guess we'll get into it, because we're running with limited time today. So what's your overall vision for New Mexico over the next 4 years? And what are top priorities you'd like to address if elected?
Absolutely. So, first of all, I've traveled statewide twice. I've been to every county in New Mexico. I've spoken to thousands and thousands of New Mexicans personally. And they've pretty much everyone, no matter what geographic area you're in New Mexico, they care about affordability. That is a real thing. Things are more expensive under Donald Trump. They care about health care, that they can go see a doctor when they're sick, that they don't have to travel miles and miles away from their home to get health care, that they feel safe in their neighborhoods, getting violent criminals and illegal drugs off of our streets and getting to the root causes of crime. And then education, ensuring that our kids can read sooner, that they can read sooner so their whole world of learning opens up for them, that teachers have the support they need, that parents have what they need to send healthy kids with full bellies to school every day. These are all things that people care about and things I care about too. So
awesome.
So those are, and underneath those 4 pillars, there's so many other things that New Mexicans care about, affordable housing, tax incentives, things of that nature, economic development, all of those things, the environment. So,
and that's a big one too,
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially, loving my outdoors and everything, I would hate to not be able to do it one day, so it's already sucks because I live in an area where there's so much federal land already that's I'm like, okay, I feel limited already. I hope we don't lose a lot more.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I appreciate you caring for that.
Yes.
So let's dig into a little bit of taxes, and I'm going to get into more of a tax question later too on cannabis. But this one is just an overall. So what's your philosophy on taxation here in New Mexico?
Absolutely. So I think that it's tough for families right now, right? I say often when I'm out on the campaign trail that New Mexicans need a raise.
Yeah.
New Mexicans need a raise. They need health care. They need, look, we are having all these Medicaid cuts happening across our state that Donald Trump has put into play, which could close 5 rural hospitals, which could jeopardize health care for so many families in New Mexico. So if folks could have jobs where health care was a benefit to them, then everybody wouldn't be so fearful when we have a horrible president who wants to take the rug out from under people's feet. So New Mexicans need a raise. I also think that families would benefit from a child tax credit, that we can ensure that is a thing. Raising my kid as a single mom, I relied on the earned income credit that was from my federal taxes. And that helped me tremendously. Sometimes I'd get a return of over $3,000 that I could pay toward my rent for the following year. And then a working families tax credit, I think, would really be helpful to people. It's ensuring that folks can make ends meet. Right now, the cost of things are very high, due in part to the the tariffs that the president has put on so many things. Things are just more expensive. Affordability is not a hoax. It's a real occurrence for people across New Mexico.
Yeah, for sure. And we're all feeling it here in the state.
Absolutely.
So, I appreciate you, even addressing that, because some people are like, oh, it's not that bad. I'm like, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's bad. A bag of groceries that used to cost $20 is now $50.
Yeah, and gas was temporarily cheaper here in Cruces, but it's gone back up, and everything. And so we're kind of back to a stabilized number that I normally see, like an average, I guess. And so it's back to, where it was. And, I go to the store and I've recognized that, man, the budget that I used to set aside, I'm getting less for that budget, so, it's really pressing a lot of people in New Mexico. So that is something I hope that, we can all work on and fix in the future. So thank you for that.
Of course.
So this next one is going to talk about more of the natural resource thing here in New Mexico. We're the number 2 producer of oil in the nation. And we have the Permian Basin there. It's booming. But we remain one of the poorest states in the nation. What's your plan to kind of, take the funds that are from the oil industry and help us a little bit more, or maybe redirect them in another way that would be more beneficial for New Mexicans?
Yes, I've gotten the question before that says, are we a rich state? Or are we a poor state?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because yes, we do have these great big funds, but yet a lot of people are living in poverty. 40% of our population is Medicaid eligible. That means 40% of our population lives in poverty.
Yeah.
So, reinvesting that money to benefit New Mexicans, I think, would be a really great idea. They're doing some of that now. However, maybe we need to, scale that up a bit.
Yeah.
We need more affordable housing, and I think the state can help with that. I went to Roy, New Mexico, and I have some grandkids that live there, my sister's grandkids, and they told me that their teachers live in travel trailers during the school year because they don't have a place to live.
Yeah.
So whatever we have to do to make sure that our kids have a quality public education, we need to do, and that includes making sure that we have affordable housing. So I think there's many ways that we can reinvest those funds into New Mexico that would really benefit. It would benefit our economy, right? It would generate funds across our state and really help a lot of people and make our state a better place. So
definitely.
I hear you.
Yeah, for sure. Because, I've driven through the Permian Basin area before, and you go through Artesia and it's like, oh, it's kind of nice here. But you go past that and it's like, oh, this isn't nice. So you're like, well, what's going on? And you see all the oil jacks and stuff. And then you just don't see all that money benefiting us in a way. So I hope that, somewhere we can change that in the future. And
yes, it's a lot of sacrifice that New Mexicans are making, to our land and things of that nature. So, of course, we want... look, I'm not looking to, yank the rug out from anyone's feet, but we have to think about the future, and our kids and our grandkids, they will inherit the world that we're creating now. So I want to make sure that they have something in the future, just like you said, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You were able to hike and enjoy the environment, and we should want that for future generations.
Of course, why not use some extra funds from oil to kind of fund something like that? So I appreciate that. Now, this next one is more, natural resource stuff. What's your plan for natural energy, like solar, wind?
Absolutely. Well, on the books, we have the Energy Transition Act, which says we should move to zero emissions by 2050. Can we get there quicker? We have an abundance of sun, an abundance of wind. We have geothermal here in New Mexico. And so there's no reason why we can't move to 100% clean energy. I'm all about that. When I was at the department, we stood up our clean energy transition for our entire country. And so, yes, we need more of that, and I think we can get there. I think it will lower utility costs for people. I think it will create jobs in rural communities. And so for me, it seems like a win-win situation.
For sure. And now what you mentioned, the geothermal, my high school, when I was in high school 20 years ago, in like 2003, 2004, they went to like geothermal. They took out the whole parking lot, dug a big hole and, covered it. And then that was how they're cooling the school down and everything. That's how they've been doing it since. And so, doing something like that has reduced their energy, costs and everything like that. And, that being more of a popular choice for homes now these days too. That's a great point to make. And, of course, newer technology comes out all the time. Batteries get better. So who knows, maybe if you do get elected while you're in, something will improve and we can advance even more in the look towards New Mexico.
Everything will always improve, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So we have to remain open to new technology. And
Yes.
I think that's how New Mexico moves forward. And we're on the cutting edge of new technology here, right? We have 2 national labs. We have military bases. We have all the smart folks here in New Mexico. So I think we can make it work.
Yes, ma'am, for sure. And, we'll see. So my next question is going to be about data centers. And I know that's a hot topic right now, pretty much nationwide, and in the area. They have the one that's planned here. What's your thoughts about data centers and what's your plans for them in New Mexico?
So there definitely has to be some guardrails on all these data centers. I read an article the other day that said the top 3 companies plan on spending $660 billion on data centers, on AI, over the next 10 years. That is a lot of money.
That is.
And so my idea about industry for New Mexico, regardless of what industry it is, it has to be sustainable. It has to be sustainable, namely where water is concerned.
Yes, ma'am.
We live in the high desert. We're in the throes of climate change. We can't afford to pollute water. We can't afford to waste water because people need it to live, right? Water is life.
There you go.
And so I mean, even with closed loop systems that I've heard talked about, there are also, issues with that,
Yes.
right? You have to flush the system every now and then.
And then there's a detergent that goes within it, and it's a mystery detergent.
Well, I love to make sure that things are transparent too,
Yes.
by the way,
Thank you. We appreciate that.
when we're dealing with the state. And so I really think that we need some guardrails on these things, because I don't think we can afford to waste water.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think we can. I think that you just talked about it. Geothermal to power your high school.
Yeah.
Geothermal, wind, solar to power these data centers too, and they should be responsible for setting up their energy resources, right? Because existing resources, we're not built for that, right? And so I really want to protect every single New Mexico community and make sure that they get the energy they need, that costs aren't going up because we're entertaining new industries. But industries overall, they need to be sustainable.
For sure. And the other thing about industries, it's really hard to find tech jobs here in New Mexico. So that being aside of, the data centers, what's your plan to kind of bring more technology to New Mexico, not to advance us, but to give more opportunities to people that are here, that are in the technology space, like the UNM and NMSU students that are going, through IT and stuff like that now, to provide jobs? Yes.
Well, I mean, every opportunity for students, I want them to have it. When I was at the department, right, there were issues about people even being connected to Wi-Fi. Right? A lot of rural communities don't have that opportunity. So making sure that, first of all, communities are connected here. We have a lot of rural communities in New Mexico. So make sure they're connected. Giving students, even in middle school and high school, opportunities to do what they want to do, right? Not every kid wants to get a 4-year college degree. Some want to go into the trades. So we should be introducing the trades. Welding, if they want to be welders, electricians, carpenters, plumbers, whatever it is, we should be giving them opportunities so that by the time high school rolls around, they have some hands-on experience and then can move to a paid apprenticeship after they graduate from high school. I think whatever kids want to do, whatever our students want to do, we should give them the opportunities, because there are too many of our New Mexicans moving out of state to find opportunities when they should have them right here.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Because we have a beautiful culture, traditions, history in New Mexico. That still means something. It means something to me. It should mean something to every single New Mexican. And even though, yes, we could be on the cutting edge of technology, it still matters that that our grandparents have a farm, and
Yeah.
it still matters that that we have folks in northern New Mexico who are caring for our acequia system. So I just want to make sure that we can keep New Mexicans here.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure, and that goes, beyond just the technology space. So I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. So public education, that's a huge concern for Mexican families. And my parents were actually prior educators. My dad was a teacher for 25 years. My mom, I think, like for 15 or something. She had some city time, so she got to retire herself. So they're both retired teachers. What's your plan to improve public education outcomes in New Mexico?
So kids need to read sooner.
For sure.
Above all, right?
Yes.
Above all. I'm so grateful to our governor and our legislature for getting early childhood education across the finish line several years back. And so I want to make sure we're continuing with that. My child read in kindergarten. I want every child to read in kindergarten. I really do.
For sure.
Because I think that unlocks this whole educational, opportunities for them. And so if kids can read sooner, they'll stay interested in school. We'll have better outcomes. We'll graduate more kids from high school, and they'll go on to, their further whatever opportunities they want to find. So making sure that students can read sooner, making sure that teachers and other educators have opportunities. When I say education professionals, I mean, think about maintenance workers in our school systems, right? Having opportunities for them to gain knowledge to get their certificates, HVAC, plumbing, whatever it is, giving them the opportunities to, climb the ladder in their own jobs and just giving people more opportunities. So educators should have opportunities to continue their learning and gain the experience so they can make more money. And then, of course, making sure that parents have what they need from our communities.
Yes.
Right? So they're sending kids to school without holes in their shoes, with warm winter coats and backpacks every couple of years. So healthy families send healthy kids to school. Healthy kids can learn how to read sooner.
Yeah.
Happy educators will ensure that our students have everything they need.
For sure. And speaking of educators, that's going to be my follow-up question to this one. How do you plan to support the educators, and not just, by, hey, we support you, but giving them resources, and not just for them, to the parents too, because like you just said, the happy parents bring in happy kids, and then they can go home to a happy family. Not the happy family part. I threw that in there actually. But that's what it kind of leads to. What kind of resources do you really want to go to? Because right now it feels that the teachers can't teach and the administrators are the ones really making the decisions when they're really not the ones with the students. So what kind of ideas do you have for teachers to kind of support them, so that way we can get this mission?
To give teachers the opportunities to sort of have their own class and make decisions about the students, because they're the ones who spend time with the students day in and day out, right?
Yes.
And they know their students better than anyone. So I trust teachers to make the right decisions, and I hope we can get to a place where that's the norm.
Yeah, me too. Because watching my parents as teachers, it was a little frustrating, because there'd be times where me and my sister would be doing homework, and my dad would get a call from a parent, and the parent would ask my dad, "Well, what am I supposed to do about my troubled child?" And my dad's like, "I don't know. It's not my kid." And so like it comes back to like some of these parents think it's daycare. And so maybe, what I'm saying with the resources for parents, maybe we need more education for the parents.
And we need more resources for the children at school too.
Yes.
I like the community school model where it's kind of wraparound services, right? In the communities that need those most. You might have a school nurse on staff. You might have a physician who comes in every so often. You might be able to hook the child up with behavioral health resources if that's what they need. So, there might be a food bank at the school to make sure that if the parents don't have enough food for the weekends, you can send a child home with a bag full of groceries for the weekend or something of that nature. community school models do those wraparound services, and I think that there are a lot of areas in New Mexico that would really benefit from a model like that.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I never heard of that before.
Mhm.
So, it'd be interesting to kind of see that worked here in New Mexico.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I think you could see how it works in some areas, and I mean, look, the bottom line is we have an obligation to our children
mhm,
to provide for them.
mhm.
And so whatever they need, we should provide. We have resources for behavioral health, right? I mean, that whole system was decimated with our previous governor,
Mhm.
and we're getting that back now.
Yeah.
We have a governor and legislature who cares about that our children are getting the help they need. So let's just make it, let's expand it. Let's make sure that the schools can connect kids with the resources that they need.
Dope. And that's good to hear because, education is really important. When I was in the military, I was stationed in Hawaii, and they have a troublesome education system too. So bad that they had furloughs back in like 2008, 2009. And I don't want us to get to that point where, we don't even get a chance to pay the teachers up until Friday, so it's great that, we can work on the teacher stuff and the education too. So thank you for that. So my next couple of questions before we go into the community questions, crime. So we all know that, we're on the news all the time for crime and this and that. What is your plans for, the high crime rates here in New Mexico?
Sure. Well, giving law enforcement the tools they need.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a tribal police force here in New Mexico that has the resources they need for all the technology they need. They've been able to make significant drug busts in their portion of a highway that goes in front of their pueblo. Right? License plate readers, lapel cameras, whatever technology we can help law enforcement to attain that would help them in the furtherance of getting violent criminals off our streets, getting illegal drugs out of New Mexico. I think that is absolutely a start. There's also an issue of pay parity around the state. So making sure that we can arrive at a livable wage for all law enforcement officers, I dare say, because what happens when you have law enforcement officers in rural communities that maybe have been trained and they're working there, they might get an offer from another agency to earn more money and have more benefits, and then it puts this rural community at risk. So I want law enforcement to feel like they are all working together, that we're doing what we can to make sure that they can earn the wages and have the benefits that they need and deserve. And so there's that. And then, getting to the root causes of crime. A lot of crimes are caused as a result of substance abuse. And we need more rehab centers too.
Yeah.
We need people who want to change their lives, who are suffering from substance abuse disorder, that we have a place where they can go when they're ready to make a difference in their lives.
Yeah, because the unfortunate part, it's up to them, when they really want to get clean. Because if we try to force them, it just doesn't seem to work. So
exactly.
Having clinics and places they can go to maybe figure out that thing is a good thing. So hopefully we can do all this right. Because I hate when we try to do things, we mess it up. But usually we don't think of everything when we do something first, and we can always go back and fix it. And that's the beauty of the democracy or the government that we have. So I appreciate that. And one more question that I'm going to ask you before we move on to the community question from the cannabis community. Veterans, since I'm a veteran myself, and I come from a long line of veterans too as well here in New Mexico, what is your plan to support the veterans of New Mexico? Because it seems like the federal government right now is on a full attack on us, and I have no clue why. So what is your plan to maybe, in the case of that, support veterans to make sure that we are taken care of?
Absolutely. So both of my parents are veterans as well. My mother, God rest her soul, passed away in the Veterans Hospital in Albuquerque. So I know how important those services are to veterans, because I've seen it with my own eyes, right? And it's shameful that we have a president in office who, ditched his service because he had a doctor who could, vouch for him on these bone spurs or whatever.
Yeah.
And which it's, that in and itself is shameful. If you're asked to serve, it's our country, you should serve.
Yeah, my uncle did it.
Yes,
he didn't want to.
Exactly.
He did it.
Yes, my father joined as soon as he turned 18.
Yeah, and my dad around 20, 21, so yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, of course, I would do whatever I can to hold the federal government's feet to the fire. The federal government has an obligation to our veterans.
Yeah, we signed a dotted line for that as well.
Exactly.
That was what we got in return.
Yes, exactly. And I was on the House Armed Services Committee. I had friends in Congress who were on the Veterans Affairs Committee. We worked together on issues. I would just do whatever I could to hold the federal government's feet to the fire on that issue. So, and I had the chance to visit with some veterans yesterday. We made Valentine's cards and visited with them. And so my heart goes out to the veterans who have served. They deserve to be respected in our state, in our country, and I will do whatever I can to make sure that they are. So I just want everyone to know that I would absolutely have people in my office who know and understand these issues, and whatever we can do to ensure that they can get the health care they need when they need it, that they are taken care of, and that the state is assisting in ensuring, they can fill their applications out. And you can bet that if I have to fly to Washington, D.C. to, to press the case for New Mexicans, that I absolutely will.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and we don't really see that happen very often here right now. So, it'd be great to see that a little bit more and kind of pressing the issue on them. Because I know the state can't do too much when it comes to federal government activities, but at least we can cover down when, they lack. So I appreciate you, saying that and everything. So now we're going to get to the time we all waited for, the cannabis community questions. Like I said before, we're going to ask all those questions. We're going to get down to the cannabis ones, and then we'll be done for the day because, how much time we got left, Gina?
Enough.
So we got enough time and everything. So my very first question from you, this came from a micro producer here in southern New Mexico in Silver City. He says, ask her how she will strengthen the local micro cannabis business in our state, or businesses.
Sure. So I'll just say that I was a small business owner at one time. I had a salsa company here in New Mexico. And so I know what it's like to have a small business. And I feel like a lot of the cannabis businesses around the state, they're small businesses, right? Yeah. I have a dear friend of mine who has a cannabis business. He does everything. He's it's a one-person show. So I feel like small businesses are the lifeblood of New Mexico, and whatever we can do to ensure that they have the support from the state, that's what we should be doing.
Cool. So, are you saying that you're willing to like kind of work with us at the legislature and stuff like that when it comes to like certain issues and kind of working with certain departments?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And as I mentioned, always like to work in a transparent manner. So we should have conversations about what the state can do to make you more successful, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. And would you have more of like a open door policy when it comes to, I guess everybody, open door policy, but especially, like the cannabis industry, and we have an issue, and of course other industries too, it doesn't have to be just us, but, would you have more of an open door policy when it comes to dealing with certain issues or very sensitive, industries?
Absolutely. Yes. Like no surprises. Is that what you mean? Yeah. No surprises.
But definitely. Yeah. Because
let's work together. Let's make sure that whatever we're doing benefits the community, right? Because people go into business because, number one, they think they have something they can help the community with. Yeah. Number two is they want to be an active member of their community, and they know that, the things they're doing will give back to their community. So I'm all for that. And I will just promise the cannabis industry that I will be very transparent, and I'll want to work with you to make sure that we are helping businesses to be successful. Yes. Because that's really the reason of going into business.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's to be successful, not to waste money.
Exactly.
It happens, and not everybody's going to survive business, but, if you can and you will, might as well, help the people that you can and everything.
Yes.
So, Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'm sure the cannabis industry will too, because, sometimes we feel like the government doesn't really want to work with us, every now and then. So what is your plan to do with the money made for the communities made from cannabis? I'm going to read this verbatim right now. We're about to hit year 4, and I'm still not sure where the millions of dollars we make on cannabis go. It should go to schools, bowling alleys, etc., city streets. I can think of countless things New Mexico desperately needs.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. I mean, it should benefit the communities where those businesses are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Filling in the potholes and making sure the kids have, new uniforms or whatever it is. Absolutely. I think that, people want to think that the money they're generating, the tax dollars or whatever that they're generating, is going back into the communities where they live. And I think that's what it should do.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that.
And I want to just say, there's some bad roads here in New Mexico. And I say that all the time. I'm like, I'm going to fill those potholes even if I have to take my own bucket of, asphalt and tar down there and do it myself. So,
right. Maybe it'll get people going.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, roads, people, they don't think about this often, right? But roads are important.
Yeah.
We use roads to visit our family members. We use them to go see a sick relative in the hospital. We use roads to get our children back and forth to school and to soccer practice. And it's important that we have a way to travel throughout this state, because we're mostly rural. I don't know any city or town in New Mexico where a car wouldn't benefit you, right?
Yeah.
We're a car-centric state. And so we need good roads to be more efficient, to be safe. These are all important things. So that will be very important to me.
Yeah, and I guess the second part of the question I want to ask too, and I remembered it's over here, is the reason why that's being asked is currently only 1/3 of cannabis revenue goes to local funds, while the other 2/3 goes to the state for the general fund is really where it goes. So would you be willing to kind of lower what the state gets and kind of favor more of the local governments to get?
I would always be willing to support local governments in that way, or local communities in that way.
Okay,
yes,
cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that was an interesting question that one of the community people gave, and I was like, that is a good question, because we get it told it's in the general fund. They're like, well, what's it getting used on then? Like, got some roads that need fixed.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not. I think that if you're a taxpayer, you deserve to know where your money's going.
Exactly. Appreciate that transparency again, right?
There you go.
The transparency thing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that on the taxes part of that. So here's another question that someone asked. They're wondering if you are going to support more of the corporate cannabis companies, or support the mom and pops too. Or what I'm saying is, will you push for legislation that favors them, or kind of more favors just business in general?
My idea is that the corporations don't need a lot of help.
It's fair. Yeah.
I mean, it's the local folks.
Yes.
It's the local people. It's the small business owners. I mean, as I mentioned, I was a small business owner.
Yes, ma'am.
So I feel like if I would have had certain help back when I needed it, it would have made a difference for me. So I think that, I'm always about the small mom and pop and local communities.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. So I'm actually going to ask you now the medical mushroom question, then I'll get back to the cannabis stuff, because I am curious about that, and I think we're running out of time. Yeah, we got 10 minutes, so I want to make sure I ask this. What's your support for the new medical, psilocybin program that we have here in New Mexico?
Sure. Well, if it as I understand, there are regulations that are being thought of now. So, I'll wait to see how those shake out. It sounds like, I'll just wait to see.
Yeah.
I would say that if it's benefiting people medically, and that's the method that people choose to use to be benefited medically, then yeah, we should find the best way to make sure those needs are being met.
Okay. And appreciate that. So I'll get back to the cannabis once we keep trucking and everything here because we're running out of time. So my next question is going to be about plant counts here in New Mexico. So currently in the Cannabis Regulation Act, it allows the state to control the plant counts that the farms grow. However, there's also an issue where people are saying there's too many dispensaries, but it's a supply and demand issue. Would you be more willing to go with what the law says and help us with the plant counts and bring those down so that way we can bring the supply down and kind of stabilize things to where they need to be? Or would you push more for closing licenses and kind of doing what other states do? Because we kind of went a different route in New Mexico.
Yes, I understand that there are a lot of licenses, more licenses than the market can bear, perhaps. So maybe saying we won't issue any more new licenses and just help to stabilize the industry as it is, and help, as I said, help the small businesses to make the decisions that are best for them.
So what we're finding out is that the plant counts kind of counter to the license thing. So when you get your supply in control, the licenses kind of get helped out on their own a little bit more. We had closed licensing during medical, and it caused a lot of issues. We went really corporate, and so the industry is kind of, there's some people that do want to have closed licenses, and it's kind of split right now in the industry. Some of us want the free and fair market, and some of us want a closed system. So I guess that goes back to, I guess you would be more willing less to hear everybody's side on that story too.
I feel like it sounds like we need a big round table. And
we do for the cannabis industry, for sure. Yeah, maybe I could set that up.
Hear from everyone and find out what would be best for the most people.
For sure. And I can set that up for you sometime if you need, when I sit down with some cannabis people, I can get you that set up for sure. So I'll get on to the very last question, everything that I have. And this is more or less, popped up in the last few days. And I was kind of like, I would say giggling while I wrote it. And I was like, it's kind of a weird question, but at the same time, I'm sure the cannabis industry would appreciate if I asked this question.
Okay.
So right now we're kind of getting attacked unfairly. There's a lot of these weird articles coming out, and like certain states are trying to go backwards because there's certain groups that are pushing for certain laws to change. With that being said, do you have any ties to big alcohol, tobacco, or any anti-cannabis groups or organizations?
Do I have any ties? No.
Okay.
No, I pretty much don't have ties to any big corporations at all. I'm just a regular old New Mexican.
Awesome. Yeah.
I mean, I've been a public servant, so
yes.
When you're a member of Congress and a Secretary of the Interior, they really, ethics are a major thing.
Especially when you were around in that area.
Yes, so I followed I paid attention to all my ethics, and so I tend to not have ties.
Yeah.
And I have my little savings account, my little TSP account. I'm just like, I don't have stocks and bonds and all of that kind of stuff like a lot of people do. That's just not me.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it.
So I don't have ties with a bunch of thing. So I'm ready to just sit down and listen to people.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. That's kind of what we need, someone to listen to and kind of lead us. So, I appreciate that. And that's good to hear as well, because a couple people brought it up. I was like, well, I'll ask. I was like, it's going to sound silly when I ask it, but I'll ask it.
No, that's okay. Happy to say that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I appreciate that. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course.
It was a great conversation. And I wish you nothing but luck.
Thank you.
At the end of the day, we'll see what the voters have to say when the time comes.
Yes. June 2nd is election day for the primary. So
awesome.
I'll ask all of your listeners for their vote during the primary.
Awesome. Well, we'll see what happens, and it's up to the voters. And is there anything else you want to say before we end the podcast?
Just thank you. I am. Thanks for having me on.
For sure.
I want every small business and every business to succeed in New Mexico. So look forward to all of those conversations.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Well, appreciate it. And thank you so much. And thank you everybody that was watching live. And this is going to come out 24 hours from now. So hopefully by the time you're watching this, it already come out and went live. So thank you so much. And again, good luck on the race.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. See you guys. Shoots.